Okay, so I'm just going to start with, I'm going to start where I start. But I'm going to start with a paragraph from The Concept of Anxiety by Kierkegaard. He's the guy who wrote the book, right? But for this, we probably wouldn't have Martin Heidegger and his focus on anxiety. But here's Kierkegaard in chapter 5, which is close to the end of this book. So he says, in one of Grimm's fairy tales, there's a story of a young man who goes in search of adventure in order to learn what it is to be in anxiety. All right, Albert. Okay, in one of Grimm's fairy tales, there's a story of a young man who goes in search of adventure in order to learn what it is to be in anxiety. We will let the adventurer pursue his journey without concerning ourselves about whether he encountered the terrible on his way. However, I will say that this is an adventure that every human being must go through to learn to be anxious. To learn to be anxious in order that he may not perish, either by never having been in anxiety or by succumbing in anxiety. Whoever has learned to be anxious in the right way has learned the ultimate. So that's my, and yeah, looking through, I always make all kinds of notes in my books, and I could spend hours and hours just, quoting out of this book. But, but just to get it up, there's something here about anxiety. And I also give another book. It took me a long time to realize how amazing it is. But just given our current, I guess even say our current political situation, but meaning that we're in a situation. And so this is from a book called The Present Age. And this is Kierkegaard. And he says, a revolutionary age is an age of action. Now, he said this in about 1850. You got to kind of appreciate that to get how ahead of his time he was. A revolutionary age is an age of action. Ours is the age of advertisement and publicity. Kierkegaard is very proud. He felt like he had discovered the media. This was before, well, it was the media then was the newspapers was the biggest thing going. Ours is an age of advertisement and publicity. Nothing ever happens, but there is immediate publicity everywhere. In the present age, a rebellion is, of all things, the most unthinkable. Such an expression of strength would seem ridiculous to the calculating intelligence of our times. On the other hand, a political virtuoso might bring off a feat almost as remarkable. He might write a manifesto suggesting a general assembly at which people should decide upon the rebellion. And it would be so carefully worded that even the censor would let it pass. At the meeting itself, he would be able to create the impression that his audience had rebelled, after which they would all go quietly home, having spent a very pleasant evening together. So you might say that that's a condition where we don't know anxiety. What Kierkegaard would say, we've gone from anxiety to fear. And fear is basically a way of explaining anxiety away. We'd much rather be afraid of something than be anxious. So I want to invite you kind of to explore your anxiety. And I also want to say, this is being recorded. So if you have any qualms about that, you can change your name, if you want. I don't mind at all. You can you can put your picture up, but this is your like, okay, if you don't want, you know, if you don't want to be recorded, then now's the time to do something about it. So, okay, so like I said, today I want to dive really deep. So I'm resisting it just a little bit, but because I want to say, look, I can't exactly rush into this, but I'm just going to ask you to kind of be willing to be uncomfortable. And let's say if you're uncomfortable, we could call that anxiety, right? If you're afraid, well, just give up your fear and jump into your discomfort, because beneath your fear is dis-ease. And if we could simply be in our dis-ease, well, that's what today is about. So I'm going to be reading you. Yeah, so I think I referenced this on the way to language last week, right, Shelley?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
yeah, and Anthony has brought it up a couple of times too.
Okay.
Anthony isn't here yet, I don't think.
I'm going to say this for me, what? I was a lot younger, and I was inadvertently surrounded by Heidegger. Had a background in philosophy, but Heidegger was a real challenge, as he would be for anybody. And probably Heidegger, I could say, is probably the most impactful, and also the most, he's upsetting. He's an upsetting philosopher. And he's also famously obscure. So one day I'm sitting in my living room reading from this, reading what I'm going to read you. But let's see, maybe I could go back a couple of pages. And no, I'm just going to dive in here. So today, yeah, so if we could just, in a way, get ourselves ready. If we could say ordinarily, we're used to informational talk, that language is informational. We get all this information and we put it together and we organize it and we come to conclusions about it and we know it and we know things that are true and we're right about stuff and we can fight with those who disagree with us. All that, I'm just going to call it like informational. But today, I want to invite you to shift a little bit and just take whatever you get when I say this. But let's say if informational is one way of talking, the way we're going to be talking today is poetic, right? We're going to be letting language express itself poetically. And poesis, the root meaning of poesis, simply means to bring forth, to call forth. So we're going to conjure. It's a little like conjuring. Oh, I see. I was in the wrong place. Yeah. What is spirit? So this is an essay called Language in the Poem. So it's appropriate if we listen poetically. And it's Heidegger's, he had 2 essays he wrote about this poet that, unless you've been talking with me, I would almost bet that none of you have ever heard of, but a guy named Georg Trakl. Does that ring a bell for anybody? Oh, yeah, my favorite.
Let me know what page you're on, because I'll follow along.
Okay, right now I'm on page 179. So he said, this is just tuning up, right? This is just awakening our poetic ears. What is spirit? Spirit is flaming, and only in this sense, perhaps, is it something flickering in the air. Trakl sees spirit not primarily as pneuma, like pneumonia, right? That'd be airy. Not as pneuma, but as a flame that inflames, startles, horrifies, and shatters us, right? So let's wait. So we're going to talk about spirit. We're saying spirit is flame, and it is a flame that inflames, startles, horrifies, and shatters us. So if you don't want to be inflamed, startled, horrified, and shattered, now's the time to leave. And I'm really committed to inflaming, that you really get inflamed, startled, because my God, what if we woke up, right? Do you think it would be as boring as it is when we kind of just get up in the morning? Okay. Flame is glowing illumination. Flame is the palest pallor's brother. Runs a line in the poem, Transformation of Evil, which is a beautiful poem. I mean, if you ever wanted to pick up and read Trakl, you can pick him up anywhere. I mean, you don't need to understand him. You just read almost like line by line and let it hit you. And you'll find it very gripping. He's an amazing guy. And for us, he was he's a bona fide drug addict. In fact, he became a chemist. So he died in, I think, 1914 or early 1915, right at the beginning of World War I. He's famous for his drug addiction. He's famous for an incestuous relationship with his sister. And there's hints of an incestuous relationship with his mother. So at least that should make him interesting. Spirit or ghost, understood in this way, has its being in the possibility of both gentleness and destructiveness. So remember, I've been saying all along, and I really picked this up from Kierkegaard, that in the realm of spirit, everything is always connected to its opposite. That you can count on. And when you forget it, when you think, oh yeah, I'm just going for the good stuff here, you will be reminded. It doesn't matter. If you forget your disease, it'll come along and you will be reminded. So if we didn't, if we opened ourselves, what actually is our dis-ease? What is it spiritually? We got concepts. That's informational, I'm going to say. We could talk about it. But, you and I have a certain, we've earned some stripes here. We have been encountered by our dis-ease. We have been awakened by our disease. We've been shaken, shattered, horrified, and at some point we've had that amazing moment where we've had to say, I'm powerless over this very threatening thing, right? I am powerless over this, which is threatening me, whether it's threatening to make me go broke or kill me or, and that's certainly a humbling, if you really get it, like I am in the grip of something that could ruin me and I am impotent, right? So spirit or ghost, and ghost is like spirit, like the German word Geist, right? Ghost. Gentleness in no way dampens the ecstasy of the inflammatory, but holds it gathered in the peace of friendship. So this fire that we're talking about isn't going to become like a hearth fire and we'll sit around it. And, I once went to a thing with my mother. She was a charismatic and I wanted her to do the EST training. This is a long time ago. And she said, oh yeah, good. And maybe you'll come and do one of my charismatic things with me. And I said, oh, sure, right? And so after she did her EST training, she calls me and said, now that charismatic thing is in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, she was serious, But I went to this charismatic thing. I'll remember this thing that fits right in here. So, they have the gifts, the charismas, right? And one is prophecy, and they speak in tongues. They got all kind of gifts. But so there was a nun who spoke. This was up in Rhode Island at whatever is the biggest auditorium they got there, and full of these. I was like 35, or no, I was younger than that. I was in early 30s, and I didn't have gray hair, but the room was full of gray hair. My mother was gray haired. Everybody was gray haired, and this nun comes and stands on the stage, and she said she'd gotten a message, kind of like from Jesus, and the message was, "I know that you warm your hearts at the fire of my love. But what I want you to know is I do not send the fire of my love for you to warm your hearts. I send the fire of my love to consume you." Somehow that fits in here. Destructiveness comes from unbridled license. So we might call that self-will run riot. Destructiveness comes from unbridled license, which consumes itself in its own revolt and thus is active evil. Evil is also a beautiful word. Evil has it's like 3 words in one. Three words in one. So but it means like under, up from under, over. So this, has the same root. Surprise means to take over, and but just so evil is ghostly in that it is the revolt of a terror, blazing away in blind delusion, which casts all things into unholy fragmentation and threatens to turn the calm, collected blossoming of gentleness to ashes. So remember, he said the spirit or ghost, understood in this way, has its being in the possibility of both gentleness and destructiveness. And now we've kind of quickly traced through that. So last week I also, it'll come up again. Okay, but where does the gathering power of gentleness reside? How is it bridled? What spirit holds its reins? In what way is human nature ghostly, and how does it become so? Inasmuch as the nature of spirit consists in a bursting into flame, it strikes a new course, it lights it, and it sets man on the way. Being flame, the spirit is the storm that storms the heavens and hunts down God. So this would be like a sacred rage. The spirit chases, drives the soul to get underway to where it leads the way. The spirit carries it over into strangeness. Something strange is the soul on the earth. The soul is the gift of the spirit. Spirit animates. So let's say spirit animates you. Your body is animated by your spirit. But the soul in turn guards the spirit. So now we got a dialectic or an interactive, soul and spirit. Soul in turn guards the spirit. So essentially that without the soul, the spirit can presumably never be spirit. Soul feeds spirit. Okay. So at any rate, one day I'm sitting in my living room and I'm reading this. And I think, I just remember just becoming aware. And I'm saying to myself in my mind, oh, Heidegger, he's so obscure, which you could be easy to say that, But then I had this insight that I'm going to say, I say it changed my life. It changed the direction. It showed me a direction I didn't even know I could go in. Didn't just change the direction like left or right, because I knew, but this was like, it opened up a direction I didn't know I could go in. That's good. And so I'm sitting there thinking about how obscure Heidegger is when I realized, wait, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but that's irrelevant. The thing is, I don't want to hear what he's saying. He's saying something and I do not want to hear it. I'm so uncomfortable about what he's saying, I don't want to hear it. And that was about the new direction I could go in. So remember, this whole series of talks is called Deconstructing the Pleasure Principle. So we're on the pleasure principle. Our principles, you know, in program, we practice these principles. Our principles tell us what to grasp first. So the pleasure principle tells us to grab pleasure first. You see how it works? And now we're committed. We're in a conversation that has been dedicated throughout to deconstructing this principle. And you deconstruct something by identifying the duality. So here's pleasure and pain, recognizing that you and I have a prejudice, right? If I say, well, who prefers pleasure to pain? Duh. Right? And how you don't have to think about that. You know, that literally, definitely goes without saying, but it's there running you. You don't notice it because it's, everyone knows it. So who the hell would go against it, you see? So you're on in a current that's running from pain, right? You're going away from pain towards pleasure. That's the currency that you honor. So I'm reading this, and then he says, the soul's heavy heart glows only when the wandering soul enters into the furthest reaches of its essential being, its wandering nature. That happens, this entering into your essential being happens when the soul looks toward the face of the blue and beholds its radiance. In that seeing, it becomes the great soul. So then he quotes a line, Heidegger quotes a line from a poem by Trakl. And the line is, so the poet is speaking to pain. And he, you know, doesn't say, oh, pleasure, thou wonderful, you know, reward of all our right behavior or something like that. No, the poet says, oh, pain. He puts pain first. Oh, pain, thou flaming vision of the great soul. So just imagine, everything's connected to its opposite. So you got a petty, scrawny, terrified, you know, petrified, turned to stone, you know, little soul that cowers and avoids anything big. And there's a greatness in you, in me, in everyone. There's a greatness. And if we could kind of let these, you know, seemingly contradictory, you know, okay, now we're going to talk about the great soul. O pain, thou flaming vision of the great soul. So the petty soul is drunk on pleasure, right? So whether it's cocaine, that was Trakl's favorite drug, but whether it's cocaine or booze or sex or money or fame or power, you know, pick your poison. Painkillers. It's so apt that our time is just powerless against anything that can kill pain. The soul's greatness takes its measure from its capacity to achieve the flaming vision by which the soul becomes at home in pain. So that definitely, we got to go a little slow there and say, that means that there's a vision. And if you had access to this vision, not only would you not have to run away from your pain, but you could choose. You could choose. Now, I have to say, I'm imagining, if you're listening to this, something in you's got to be saying, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you talking like this? Because I don't want to know about this. I just want to get over there where the pleasure is. Or at least over there where the pain isn't as intense. I'll sell my soul for that. But we're deliberately exposing ourselves to another way of being. You know, that in you lives a greatness. It's already there. I couldn't put it there if I wanted to. I wouldn't know how to get it there. It is definitely beyond me. But I'm absolutely speaking to what I'm absolutely clear is in you. And I'm somewhat asking you to kind of open up the part of you that say, okay, look, you've always known there's something great in you, but you also already know that you prefer pleasure to pain. And so you just, whenever you start getting ready to be your great self, you pretty quick shut down. So the soul's greatness takes its measure from its capacity to achieve the flaming vision by which the soul becomes at home in pain. And then he tells us the nature of pain is in itself converse. So I'm going to do a little, supposing if I said, that we're in a place here, and this place is a place of pain. And this place he's going to characterize in a number of ways. Okay, so he says, here you're in pain. Here you are in pain. So like when the Buddha said life is suffering, he's kind of, it's you can deduce it from that. If life is suffering and you're alive, you're in pain. You're suffering. So then he says, the nature of pain is in itself converse. So he's going to say, there's another place. So if you entered into your pain, you would be taken in a converse path. So you're going to say, flaming, pain tears away. Pain's rending, sweeping force consigns the wandering soul into that conjunction of storm and hunt, which would storm heaven and hunt down God. So this is sacred rage. And I suspect lots of us have a rage. And I suspect, even as remember I told about Kierkegaard's father when he was 11 years old, was, having a miserable time. He was being farmed out to work and he wasn't getting any money. And he got mad and he went out and he cursed God. And that God curse governed his entire life and was handed on down to the life of his son, named Soren. So there's a rage that would storm heaven and hunt down God. And thus it seems as though the stormy sweep were to overwhelm its goal, instead of allowing it to prevail within its veiling radius. So if you entered into your pain, you would start going down. And it would begin to look like, they're going to cancel your vote. And be like, I don't want to continue this journey. But Heidegger's given us a map. And he's saying the nature of pain is converse. And even though it will look like, you're going straight to hell, that's probably the right way to say it if we can still hear about hell. But, okay, so it seems as though the stormy sweep were to overwhelm its goal, and instead of letting it prevail within its veiling radiance. Yet, this latter, this something good, right? I think I've given the quote from the poet Helderlin, like, where the danger is, there the saving power grows also. This is like one of those situations. I was reading Luther this morning, and he's saying, like, God can only be the redeeming God when he's already been the devil. Like, there's just something, like the front and the back. There's something about, that these things are connected. And now we're talking about the connection of pain and something else. Whatever we're going to end up with is the opposite of that. But so the vision, remember we said, O pain, thou flaming vision of the great soul. So the vision seen by the greatness of the soul the vision does not quench the flaming sweep. So it doesn't diminish the power or the intensity, but rejoins it to the fitting submission of seeing acceptance. And it is in this upward sweep. So I'm going to say, if you do this, see, here it looks like they're just going to cancel your vote, but you don't get that. This turns, and then it returns. And it's in this return that pain, as Heidegger puts it here, pain achieves its mildness, its power to disclose and convey. Your pain will become the most useful thing. And look, you can tap into this. Like I said, we've all gotten into the rooms by being completely defeated by something. And that was a moment of being powerless over your pain. And that was a moment when something happened. And I don't think that was your first moment. I think, if you look, your best moments have been when you stopped running away from some pain and just, okay. So it is this upward sweep in pain by which pain achieves its mildness, its power to disclose and convey. So spirit is flame. It glows and it shines. Its shining takes place within the beholding look. So, look, something is showing up for you. So we could say that's the phenomena, it's showing up. But the phenomena that's showing up for you is either being governed by the pleasure principle, or it's now we're saying can be governed by the vision by which the soul becomes at home in pain. And that's completely different. So, and he's going to say something about this. He says, so it's shining. Right? Spirit is flame, it glows and it shines. Its shining takes place within the beholding look. To such a vision is given the advent of all that shines, where all that is present. This flaming vision is pain. Its nature remains impenetrable to any mind that understands pain in terms of sensitivity. So I could say here's the realm of the senses. Right? Here's the realm of the senses. And in this realm, what you and I do is we medicate. And now Heidegger is going to say here, yeah, this flaming vision is pain. Its nature remains impenetrable to any mind that understands pain in terms of sensitivity. So he's saying, if you think something is causing you pain, then your vision is shrunk. And you got to rearrange the things that are causing you pain and get them to be in a situation like the deck chairs on the Titanic, right? You're trying to rearrange them so that somehow magically the ship isn't going to sink. But you haven't even begun to. So if you could say, wait a minute, that's because I think something is causing my pain. Remember I said your mind always has a reason, has an explanation, and it's a causal explanation. So imagine something's causing your pain. Wait a minute. No. Supposing it's more like this, your pain is causing everything. And the vision by which the soul becomes at home in pain might be like a meditation, right? And I love this because I've said this before to you guys, but the word meditate and the word medicate, same root, same linguistic root. So they belong together in some strange way, but we're busy. We don't want to go, where the essential nature of pain gets revealed. And so we keep medicating. And if you get down here and then you get afraid, you do this little, I'm going back. I'm going to have one more hit, just one more drink, just one more, hand of poker, just one more something or other, whatever you use to medicate, one more political poll or one more, something. So this just keeps you here. You've thought to escape this many times. Oh, I'm just not going to eat that cookie. But you know what? Then the stupidly subtle pain comes, and all of a sudden you just realize, I sold my soul for a cookie again. So there's something awfully important going on. And the principles that are guiding you don't let you complete your journey, so to speak. Flaming vision determines the soul's greatness. So remember, I'm saying that there is a shabby, humiliating, embarrassing, petty, small, judgmental, prejudiced soul in each of us. And that is connected to what he's here calling the great soul. So if I say here's like the great soul would be like not shrunk, not diminished and reduced and shrunken to a solid point. And that's the world we live in, all these things, right? Things. We believe in things, hard things that are stable and they stay where you put them. Or, fluid things that, they move around a little more, but at least we can drink them and stuff like that. But this something, this vision of the great soul, this what we can see, when we're at home in pain. So the spirit which bears the gift of the great soul is pain. So the spirit which bears the gift of the great soul is pain. Pain is the animator. So just look, what animated you to be here right now? Well, I dare, say, I bet you it's some pain. Me too. I'm here because I want to deal with my pain, but our pain, because I'm beginning to suspect, I don't think our pains are all that different. But see, if you're individuated and shrunken and separated, it looks to you like you ain't me. And I think I said in that Adam and Eve story, you know, the feminine was taken out of the masculine. And then he could look at her. It looks like she did that thing. So when God said, did you do it? He said, it was that woman you put me with. There's a huge delusion at work right exactly here. So see, it's very easy to sit here and I know I'm not you. And I'm very clear, you know, you ain't me. So, you know, I wish you luck, good luck, right? But, you know, I'm still hoping on my 401k and my, you know, my, whatever, the next poll that they're going to give me in the newspaper or, you know. So, or what about the vision of the great soul, right? That expands to where, you know, wow, could it expand to where you are me and I am you and we are one? How could that which is so separated and apart become one? Well, you know, I love to look up words, right? And I don't care about the definitions because to define means to limit. That's what it means, to put an end to. Défini, fini, over, that's it, right? So we've got a world defined, but we don't realize that, you know, we made up these definitions. You know, we cut up our pie this way and we could have cut it up that way. We cut it up so that I'm not you and you're not me and we aren't one. But if we looked up the root of the word pain, oh, wait a minute, I can do, we can go to Edem Online. And let's see if I can get this. Wait a minute. Let's see, can I do this? Oops. No, I can't. How can I, wait a minute. Stop sharing. I'm gonna go.
Go to the site itself first and
Yeah.
then share the screen.
Okay, now I go here. Whoop, now I go share screen. Okay, and now I go here. And now I go here. Okay. Pain. And it, right? So from the 13th century, there's this root, P-E-I-N-E, the agony suffered by Christ, right? And in 1300, we got a root meaning punishment. So pain and punishment are etymologically tied together. Punishment, especially for crime, legal punishment of any sort. So remember I said last week, Luther said the law is always condemning you. You're always being condemned by the law. So also conditions one feels when hurt, the opposite of pleasure, all this stuff, you kind of know because it's built into the definitions. But if I keep going here, hell's torments, we know that from the Latin, poena, meaning punishment, penalty, retribution, indemnification, or in the late Latin also torment, hardship, suffering, from the Greek poene, retribution, penalty, quit money for spilled blood, blood money. And then we get to the PIE, which means Proto-Indo-European, which is, you know, the language that was spoken along around the Indus River about 7,000 years ago, which we don't know much about the people, but somehow we reconstructed the language. And so we know the roots of the language. And so the root that gives us the word pain is this KWEI. That's putting it into English. They wouldn't have, but anyway, it means to pay, to atone, to compensate, right? So if we say, wait a minute, what to atone means to have or be at one, right? So if I said, in a great sense, right, for the great soul, the vision of pain is that which unites. But we're all shrunken and hiding and quivering in our little individuated cells. Didn't I last week speak about Shiva, who freely selected to individuate, knowing that when he came to, he would feel inadequate in every sense? Did I say that last week?
Yes, yeah,
Good.
you did.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you don't have to remember any of this stuff, but you can kind of bet if I say something, I'm going to come back around to it, right? So now here's my little anchor point, right? You know, a case for the statement that pain means at one-ment, at atonement. And we're on the pleasure principle. So we're running away from atonement as fast as we can. So does that kind of explain yourself to yourself? Right? We're avoiding what we most want. And we're seeking, you know, remember the first law of willing is that you can't have what you want. Right? Because the will is just about willing. It's not about having. Okay. So the spirit, wait a minute, the flaming vision determines the soul's greatness. Okay, so this flaming vision is pain. Its nature remains impenetrable to any mind that understands pain in terms of sensitivity. So if you stay inside your body and try and make sense of everything, which is the basic, you know, natural perspective, then you're never going to get it that you're the whole thing. You're never going to get that you're Shiva. And you're going to be busily trying to figure out the magical configuration of the deck chairs that will keep the boat from sinking, but you're on a sinking ship at any rate. This flaming vision determines the soul greatness. Okay.
What did you say is the first law of willing?
Yeah, that you can't have what you want.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because if you got it, you won't will it.
Right.
Okay. The spirit which bears the gift of the great soul is pain. Pain is the animator. So I said, what animates you to be here? Your pain. Whether you're trying to run away or you're trying to run into it, because it doesn't matter, because it's all one, you see. Pain is the animator, and the soul so gifted is the giver of life. And here, I mean, for me, it was like thinking of, wow, Bill Wilson shared his vision. He was touched, and he was granted the vision of the great soul, and he shared that with Dr. Bob, and we're still in that unification. We are still in that at one-ment. We still don't know what it is, and we're still looking to chase pleasure and escape pain, but at least now we can begin to orient ourselves instead of occident ourselves, right? The orient is where it rises up, and the occident is where it falls down. And Heidegger has a lot to say about the orient and the occident in this essay, but at any rate, and the soul so gifted, right? Pain is the animator, and the soul so gifted is the giver of life. This is why everything that is alive in the sense in which the soul is alive is imbued with pain. The fundamental trait of the soul's nature is pain. Now, what did he say? He said, the fundamental trait, you don't have to agree with him, but you just have to hear it. The fundamental trait of the soul's nature is at one-ment. Or the fundamental trait of the soul's nature is unpleasant sensations. Take your pick. Right? And you're being governed by your principles. You're practicing your principles in all your affairs. And I'm just saying, and it's weird, like, why was I sitting in my living room? I'm sitting in my living room reading this. I'm smoking a cigarette. I just finished a joint. I'm drinking a beer, right? I've been drinking coffee all day. I got some ice cream in the freezer. Like, am I running away from my pain, or am I running into my pleasure? Is that so pleasant? That's numbing. Okay. Everything, so the fundamental trait of the soul's nature is pain. Everything that is alive is painful. Now, you say, is filled with unpleasant sensations or is at one? Only a being that lives soulfully can fulfill the destiny of its nature. By virtue of this power, it is fit to join in that harmony of mutual bearing by which all living things belong together. Only a being that lives soulfully can fulfill the destiny of its nature. By virtue of this power, it is fit to join in that harmony of mutual bearing by which all living things belong together. All living things are at one. In keeping with this relation of fitness, everything that lives is fit. That is to say, good. And the word good means to unite, to join together, to make one. That's its etymological root meaning. Let's see if I can prove that. Okay, and now come over here and I say share the screen, and I'm going to say, wait, did I do that? Okay, good. From the Old English, good with a long O, and that's not God, that's good. That which is good, a good thing, goodness, advantage, benefit, gift, virtue, property, from good, meaning the good side of something, is from the 1660s, a phrase for good, finally, permanently, for good and for all, for good nor ill, thus under, I'm going to have to go, well, I'm not going to get lost in this right now, but a good book. I'll have to, I'm not going to, wait a minute, here I am. Wait, where's my, I'm screen sharing. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
There was one where it said to gather or take up together.
Right. I'm not going to try and find it, but at any rate, right? So I'm trying to say this simple thing that we're already at one. You don't need to figure this out, but there's a part of you that has the vision that can see this. And I don't imagine that me saying that is going to instantly open you up. You know, I'd been traveling a certain path when this first came to me. And, you know, it's guided me ever since. In fact, it guided me like, you know, it did. I learned a bunch of stuff. I stopped running away from my pain. I learned a lot of stuff. I created a workshop called The Language of Addiction. I delivered my workshop. It was a complete success. And at that point, when everybody left, without a thought in my head, I grabbed Robin's hand, my wife Robin, and we went out and I got blind, stinking drunk. And the next day I ended up in AA, right? So yep. God works in mysterious ways.
So we have a question from the chat.
Good.
It's Lynn. Good morning. I'd like you to go back a ways. You were talking about we're always trying to numb pain. And then I think you said something that said that our life is pain.
The fundamental trait of the soul's nature is pain. And if you look up the definition of pain, you're going to get, you know, I mean, you're going to get I think there's like 5 things there, if I remember. The definition now, the limitations. We've limited this. But, you know, the fundamental thing is an unpleasant sensation, you know, of varying degrees. So what we know is that pain is an unpleasant sensation. Who wants it? Not me. The word patient means to be in the pain. That's why the patient goes to the doctor, right? But is that helping you out there, Lynn?
So are you saying that my life, when I wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
I should be able or expect pain?
The fundamental trait of the soul's nature is pain. If there ain't no pain, you're probably stoned or medicated in some way. I mean, look, that doesn't mean there's no joy or anything, like it's not what we think it is. See, it's not defined. It's unlimited, not defined. Infinite, right? Not definite, infinite.
I don't know what you're telling me.
Okay, but I'm saying to define is the opposite of infine, right? Definite, infinite, right? Definite is shrunken and materialized, and there it is, and you can see it, and it seems like it would be there if you weren't even looking at it. But I wonder how much of the world would be here if we weren't looking at it, because we're not all looking at the same world. We got very, very, very different worlds. Try talking to your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, your friend from another political party, and just see we're not in the same world. But each of us has very definite, objective, provable things that we see. And we fight about it as if, come on, I got my definitions and you got yours. But you know what? I think we left each other out. So I'm going to rewrite my definitions in a sense so that I'm committed to learning. I'm committed to learning what it means to love my neighbor as myself. Very interested. I don't know what it means, but I remember that I once didn't know how to love my wife. But I started okay, every day I'm going to learn. I got to learn. So I want to learn how to be at one in pain. I'm not interested in being canceled by a bunch of unpleasant sensations. I am very interested in the vision of the great soul. Right? That vision by which the soul becomes at home in pain. So we got another question?
So you're saying, or at least what I'm hearing is that to be open, that life, there is pain, to be open to it, not be afraid of it, to expect it, but the pain is about us not being one together.
No, the pain, no. If you could, let's say the drift of our lives, right? The throne is the way, the automatic way we have of being. You think you're you and you ain't me, and I'm me and I'm not you, and I'm here and I wake up in the morning and I wonder, do I have a headache? How do I feel? Did I eat the wrong food last night? Did I eat those cookies while I was watching, my political show or, something, right? But if you just start watching and assume this, that what shows up for you is a reflection of you, right?
Oh.
Now, you might think what shows up is caused by someone else, because it's very easy to assign causality to someone or something else. But, I think the jig is up on that one. Because we only got one atmosphere here. And you know what? Atma is the self, right? So we only got one self here. And my self is your self. That's something, I don't know. That like I'm not trying to, look, I'm just trying to shake your tranquilized everydayness, which knows, that you're Lynn and you're on enough and you don't have enough and nobody's on your side and you got to be wary and cautious and careful because, you're going to get hurt. Then you're going to die and I don't know, you're going to go to hell or you're going to go to heaven. No, we don't believe that anymore, except I don't know how many people on their deathbed are wondering about that. But, if say, okay, what if it were true that there is some kind of greatness in us, but the greatness is accessed by the same route that we're granted our finite, individuating, limiting, pathetic, scrawny little selves, like our great souls and our pathetic souls. Maybe, you know, they
Our greatness,
arise,
our greatness is access through pain,
yeah,
or
yeah.
the
At least that would
acknowledgement
make
of.
pain begin to be useful, huh? Right? That if pain is the fundamental trait of the soul's nature, and then you're trying to cancel your pain, you're canceling your own self.
All right, so it's my ability to stand in my fear kind of dissipates it. It allows me to look at it and see it's not as big an issue as I think it is.
That's beautiful. Really, just imagine waking up and instead of saying, uh-oh, I did it again, I gotta, whatever, something's wrong, just say, I don't even know what this is, but you know what? It is what's arising around me. And you know what? I could be a yes, even if it's scary. So like I woke up and like, you know, I got a wife and a baby coming, and I know that no matter how clearly I know what I ought to do today, I know I ain't gonna do it. And I got it. I'm powerless. I'm like the deck chair. Put me wherever you want. I'm gonna still go down when the ship goes down. Right? I'm a deck chair. But all of a sudden, by the grace of program, I'm, you know, like I said, this led me in. Like I think I was opening up to this, and I needed more space for my pain. I didn't even appreciate how much, you know, how awesome the pain is. But you see, we can't even hear the word. I said pain is awesome. You know, you're not supposed to think like that because we all know pain is what sucks. But, you know, by the way, the other root, in addition to at one-ment, that pain is payment. And we all avoid payment like the plague. Reuben, we avoid payment like the plague. I mean, just look, we're governed by the pleasure principle, which tells you seek pleasure, maximize pleasure, minimize pain. And I'm saying what any good deconstructor would tell you, that's a prejudice. You got a prejudice. You think something is more important. Remember, the first rule of game theory is something is more important than something else. So I'm suspecting that we're alike in this. The most important thing is minimize pain, maximize pleasure. Or if you're going to feel some pain, make sure you got some gain there. Then I can justify a little pain. But, you know, to just say, wait a minute, the vision of the great soul, right? The vision by which the soul becomes at home in pain. Wow. And look at what are we all talking about. We're so divided up. We're so divided up. And there aren't enough painkillers. Give me some more painkillers or invent a new drug. You know, vaccinate me, anything, but just, you know, it's wrong. Pain is wrong. I'm not supposed to be in pain, and my children aren't supposed to be in pain, and my granddaughter's not supposed to know any pain. But supposing that we're just wacky about pain, or just ignorant, you know, I mean, like innocently, you know, uninformed, because we're informed by pleasure. Right? And we get our children, you know, addicted to sugar before they're a year old, and then like wonder why the world turns out. But it's all like, say there's the realm of the material, there's the realm of the information, right? Or the knowledge. There's the cognitive realm and the behavioral realm. And then we're trying to open some access to the spirit soul realm. Right? In order that we can then own our spiritual dis-ease so that we can surrender our self, our spirit, our soul, our spirit soul bonded together. that we can go beyond being. How's that sound? And at the same time, stay grounded in being. Like, okay, I like it here. I love life. It's crazy, and the more mysterious, the more amazing it gets. And the more I can own my pain, the less I have to make up stuff that you're like doing something to me. So I don't have to blame my father-in-law, and then I don't even have to blame my father, and then I don't even have to believe that anything ever happened like that. I don't have to believe that he damaged me, because it's clear I'm not damaged. Right? So I'm saying, if we've been running away, we've been governed by the pleasure principle, which is go away from pain, go towards pleasure. And that's just so obvious and common, and there's nothing wrong with it, except it only does what it does, right? And so what it does is ends up, well, it ends up just like it says. I'm beginning by identifying where's the pain, let me get away from it. But
Jim,
I made up that pleasure is better than pain. I made up that a hard time means I'm going to fail. And even then, that failure is wrong. And I made up that, who cares to admit complete defeat, right? So I made up that defeat is bad. So I'm not going to admit complete defeat. Right? I'm not going to admit complete defeat, because I'm going to practice my principles in all my affairs. And my basic principle is minimize pain, maximize pleasure. And I got a feeling yours is too. I'd be amazed to find that's not true. I don't think you doubt it for a second. Of course, you're minimizing pain and maximizing pleasure. And if it's necessary and there's some obvious gain, you'll endure a bit of pain. And when you get sick, it's okay, but you're going to go to the doctor, who, by the way, is going to give you the doctrine. That's what the doctor is the one with the doctrine, right? And he's going to tell you a story. And as a result of the story, you're going to take some medicine. And then Big Pharma is going to do well, and the doctor's going to do well, and maybe even you feel better. And look, I'm not at war with doctors or medicine or anything of the sort. I'm just trying to jiggle the absolute certainty you have about the pleasure principle. It's funny, when Freud he didn't announce the pleasure principle. The first time he wrote about it, he said the pleasure pain principle, which is very honest. But that was the only time. After that, it was the pleasure principle. My suspicion is that sold better.
Jim, I have a question. It's
Good.
Rob Oliver.
Hey, Rob.
Your scenario, right? I keep doing the same thing over and over again. I say I'm not going to do it, and then I do it. But after I do it, I feel a certain kind of pain. I might not be consciously aware of it, but I'm going back into the pain. I'm going into the pain of self-loathing.
Yeah, that's the pain of failure, right? because your principles, you got to really get the precept, right? Prince is like, that's the first child, right? The prince. And sept. It's like forceps, when they put it on the baby's head, they pull that little being out of the womb, right? So your principles say grab first. So you're simply obeying your own principles. And
but isn't the addiction pain? Isn't that the base of the addiction? Going back into the self-loathing, going back into the chaos. Because we say we don't want chaos. Look at the world, right? Look at what happens. When we have a few moments of peace, we go and we watch The Godfather, right? That's what we do for entertainment. We watch people kill each other. And we traumatize ourselves. So isn't the pain the addiction, ultimately the addiction?
Well, I mean, I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking, what's the most useful thing here? So the addiction, right? And look, this is almost all I do. Addiction. It's funny, if you listen to the words, they tell themselves to you. Like advance, it means toward, right? Add and, right? To speak. So, adicere was a judgment in the Roman legal system. So if you were captured in a battle, or if you owed a bunch of money and you had to go to court to settle something, they might give you to somebody else. And the judgment with which the judge judged that you are, and the judge spoke and he said, adicere. It's like you no longer have a say in the matter. That's addiction. Now, who's the judge that judged that you now are going to serve sugar or sex or money? You're going to serve poverty. Well, I'm telling you, it's an inside job, but don't take my word for it. Take a look. And I'm just trying to jiggle this now because we're so in this. It's not going to disappear overnight because we got a good idea or something. But if we can just begin to consider when we wake up in the morning, well, I'm just here. And if I don't say pleasure's better than pain, I don't know what I'll see. But, it's like, if I had a friend who was an African, and they came over from Africa, and they said, oh, let's go to the football game. I said, sure, yeah, we'll go. The Jets are playing the Giants, big game here in New York. Okay, so we go watch, and he's looking, and he said, this is football? Right? And I said, yeah, this is the Jets and the Giants, but it doesn't look to him like a football game. Or imagine if I, took someone that really just didn't care about football. And they're going to look at these people running around on the field. It's not going to make any sense. Then nothing's happening. They're just people running around on the field. And every now and then somebody's hollering. It's obvious somebody thinks something great happened. But if you don't care, you don't see. And you care about your pain. And so you see anything that might, send it your way. But if you didn't say, oh, this is bad, for example, right? Wait a minute. I'm willing poverty. I have a wife and a kid now, and I'm willing to be poor. I'm willing to struggle to provide for my family, and I'm stuck. And I know I'm dead in the water, but I'm listening to all this, and I'm fascinated. As much as I'm terrified, I'm also fascinated. I think, wow. So if I happen to be this magical power that gives its allegiance, that says, I say pleasure's better than pain. And I seem to be drunk on this. It doesn't seem to be working for me anymore. I thought it was working. I thought it went without saying, but I think I need to say, I'm willing to be poor, and I can't stop myself. But then I found myself in my AA room, and they said, surrender yourself. And I went to my DA room, and I thought, wow, I can leverage what the alcoholics told me. They told me I didn't have to drink a day at a time. I just imagined somebody telling me you don't have to under-earn a day at a time. And it took me about a year and a half, but it stopped. Boom, one day, the last week of February, 33 or 34 years ago. I'm a little confused about that now. I'm not.
Soren has a question.
Yes, Soren.
Unmute yourself, Soren.
Hey,
I saw on the board, the second circle is meditate. So
no, that's not a 3 circle.
I know, but I'm saying that you have this circle and the line goes like, I don't know. I guess it's saying that the way to find home in pain is meditation.
Yeah, because meditate means to take appropriate measures. And medicate means to take appropriate measures. But I think it's a function of, if you're on the pleasure principle, the appropriate measures is a painkiller. But okay, wait a minute. So I don't know. I don't know anymore. In fact, I'd say, okay, God, I surrender. That's all I'm doing. I'm surrendering myself. I got a vision of myself, right? I'm an addict. Okay. And somehow or other, I ended up with this thing, I'm going to surrender myself. I'm powerless over pleasure and pain. My freedom is my curse. I am willing to abuse myself. And I'd still like to get a one-ended stick or a one-sided, solution where I'd like to get back to, okay, but what's the real answer? How do I just get to maximize my pleasure? But if I say, wait a minute, no, the issue is, it's like Nietzsche told me, the will would rather will nothingness than not will. So the game kind of became to surrender my will. It wasn't to will pleasure or will pain or will to understand or will to control. It was like, let me meditate on surrendering myself, my will, right? And being and spirit and will all converge. Let's say, so if I surrender myself, I don't know, maybe I'm surrendering myself to myself. I don't even worry too much, but I say I got a higher power and I'm taking myself, which I hold accountable for, the phenomena. And I say, you know what, I don't like these phenomena. And I think I'm stuck in my own principles here, but you know what? Now I'm learning, let me surrender myself. Let me admit complete defeat. And let me put God in charge of my life. God as I understand God. But let me, now that's what I'm doing. So it doesn't matter much about me, what I am, what I do, what I think, what I know, what I feel, etc. It doesn't not matter too much. And in fact, it matters like this. If I'm having a lot of trouble, I'm probably, took charge again. So I got to go through that every morning and surrender myself. God, I offer myself. Here it is. It's drunk on the pleasure principle. It's scared to death of poverty, but it's heading straight for it. And, so does that address your concern there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just hoping you'd give like an easy, like, yes, we should all meditate and everything gets better kind of answer.
Okay, well, meditate. That's great. I'm sorry. That's more pleasant, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at like, come on. You don't have to keep thinking the same stuff. There's like all kinds of amazing things to, think and be and, hey, how you doing, Heather? Okay, so we got just a few more minutes. So take a look. Now, some of you got to have questions.
What's the connection between surrender and action? I can't just surrender and not move, right?
Look, you don't got to worry. You're going to move, right?
I don't know. I'm very happy on Sunday staying in bed all
That's great.
day
Then that's your action. My action today is stay in bed. But I don't think that you could accomplish. See, maybe you're going to stay in bed, then just tell the truth. I'm willing to stay in bed. That might be very pleasant for a while, but eventually I think you're going to say, you know what, if I'm not going to get out of bed because I want to be in charge of myself, I think I'll surrender myself, and let's see if I stay in bed or maybe I get up and go to a meeting.
All right, I'll think about that.
It's great. Not too intensely though. But right? Is your hand up again, Soren? It is. There's a hand up where you are. Okay. Patty, you got a question?
Yes, I have a million questions.
I want you to get
Yeah.
your money's worth.
Yeah, this is really good. You know, it's very uncomfortable because what I'm hearing then is, I mean, it's going to sound silly because I'm just going to repeat what you're saying, but is that to be curious to know what is going to be here when I sit in the pain rather than satisfy the habituated movement of medicating it. And, you know, a part of me wants to sit here and just, you know, whenever there is something, to just say, let me feel it, you know, like a burning through of what is going on. And then there's a part of me that's screaming, are you insane? And just wants to run the other way. And I guess
You are
here there's
insane,
like
and you want to run the other way.
yeah. And so here there is a fear of the unknown, of who will I be, what will I be? And then I guess, you know, it goes to the anger that you were mentioning, like some, you know, some real, I think anger is not the word, but I guess, you know, every week that I'm coming here, I'm processing through a lot of the emotions that is in the way of the simplicity of what you're saying, because I'm hearing it every week, but there's a lot of junk in the way of my being able to be that.
But the fundamental trait of the soul's nature is pain. And I have my little book from a guy named Schopenhauer, very famous philosopher. And he opens his book on the sufferings of the world. It says, unless suffering is the direct and immediate object of life, our existence must entirely fail of its aim. Right? So you could get, I'm in charge, or at least I'm pretending I'm in charge, or I'm trying to be in charge. I made up a game in which something's more important than something else, right? And so I'm pursuing my goals, right? You have a goalpost here and a goalpost there, and it's better to get the ball across my goalpost. But now I see whether I get across there or over there, I'm going to lose, right? And maybe if I surrendered the whole game to something beyond myself, maybe that's the promise. See, that you know, I surrender myself and then something takes over and it does me. The phenomena begin to behave, and I see and I experience and I feel and I think and I know and I understand. Oh my God, look, this is like living in a blessed state. Try that. And if one of us can do it.
Yeah. And so I guess my question to you then is probably one of reassurance, because, you know, I did like what you've said about, you know, you got it, you did the workshop, you passed the message on to somebody, and then your higher power got.
I did the workshop, then I went and got drunk.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Your higher power got you ready, and then it got you ready but for something else by taking you to get blind drunk, and then the next day you were going to go to an AA meeting. And right. I guess for me it's that I hear you, what you said, I totally, you know, I'm on that ride, but it's like I'm still, despite knowing that I can't fix myself, I think I'm still trying to fix myself. You know, it's the getting away from that, because, you know, I've moved, you know, I've come leaps and bounds since I've first started hearing you in my recovery. And then, you know, I go to breakdowns and then I think, shit, I've done it wrong again, you know, but actually it's waking up to the fact that it's not that, and that this ride of sitting in the what is, in the pain, is always going to be here. I just have to let go of this judgment of pain or pleasure.
And just a minute, you don't really know what pain is. If pain is at one moment, do you see how, oh my God, but I made up that it's an unpleasant sensation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I like, yeah. I like
so look,
this
I'm
thing
going to
about,
try, because a number of people have been asking, so I'm going to try and find out how can I post this, and then I'll send a link and you can look at it, you know. But like, because this will blow your mind and it'll blow the world. It's like just amazing to me. I mean, I still haven't gotten over the initial vision, but it's still bringing the life to me, and that life has gotten richer and richer and richer. And that's what I really want to share and inspire. This is not like, and trust me, I'm the most selfish guy you'll ever meet. And like, you know, like, thank God I don't have to be myself, because I drove myself crazy.
There's
So
two
if we could
things
get
in
this
the
thing-
chat here. There's two, Jim, you said this is from Giles.
Yeah, that's what I just said, that, Giles.
Okay, yeah. And Daryl says he can help you with
Right. Well, I'm just going to see if I can get one posted, so that, and then
Okay.
I can look about the rest
Cool.
of it. But
All
look, I'm thinking right now, we got 2 more weeks, right? So get here and listen. You know, I think this is beginning to prove itself. So bring a friend, bring somebody to hear the news, right? I'll right? We're like, oh my God, because this is so bizarre. Nobody's going to stumble on it and figure it out. It's like, you know, but share it, right? It gets interesting, gets more interesting. When you share it, it gets even more interesting. It's humbling, right? It's not immediately, oh yeah, my name is Jim and I'm willing to be poor. That's like, that guy's crazy, you know? Well, maybe, but maybe life's crazy, right? But I'm committed to making this conversation available. And I think we did a great job. Guys, I've never gotten this much said in one, you know, an hour and a half. I can't even believe it. And I just want to say, you guys, you're making, it's like, I'm afraid I'm going to scare people away, but somehow we've got some relationship, and like you've been stepping into it. And I just want to say thank you for that, because that's life's blood to me. So,
Thank you.
right? So we got 2 more weeks, and then we'll take a break, and then, you know, mid-January we'll, you know, I'll talk over with Shelley. We're going to do something different, but it's going to be the same thing, because I don't know anything else to do, you know. But, you know, to go at it again differently, and until people can begin to hear this, because we're wasting our time pursuing pleasure, avoiding pain. Time to deconstruct the pleasure principle. That's been my vision for a long time, but I had to stop caring whether people thought I was crazy or not. Okay?
The Heidegger essay, Dora, is in a book called On the Way to Language.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, and in January we'll give you reading lists if you want. We'll hone it down more, right? But I'm telling you, addicts, drunks, 12-steppers are pre-selected to hear what I'm saying. You know, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. To me, it amazes me every day. But we've been living this. You can kind of see that, right? Your program has been guiding you in a path, something like this. And if anything, this is just more of what you've already been doing. Maybe not, I don't know. At any rate, I look forward to seeing you all next Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jim.
Jim, again.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate
All right,
you.
Albert, Ruben.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jim.
How was that, Albert, huh?
Yeah, it's right on point, brother.
Amazing.
It's just amazing. It's right where I am too, you know, like right in the space of pain and anxiety, which is where you started from, right? Learning to be anxious, right? Willing to be anxious.
I'm willing to be anxious.
You're willing to be anxious.
I'm willing to make it mean something. I'm anxious and like, you know, it means I'm failing.
Yeah, right, sure.
But maybe it means I'm close to God.
I'll go with that one.
Okay.
All right, brother. Speak to you.
Love you.
Love you.
Wow.